Johnny and Justin were two simple Imagineers at Disneyland until they dared to ask the question,
Hey, Justin, is Disney diverse?
Well, Johnny, I'm not.
Oh no, we've angered the mouse!
Stormtroopers, run!
Holy crap, it's a gathering of cookies!
Now, from undisclosed locations within the Disney park, Johnny and Justin record a podcast where they seek to answer the question, is the Disney catalog diverse?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Disney+Diversity. I'm Johnny.
I'm Justin.
And as you know, here on Disney+Diversity, we review the Disney catalog to see how diverse and inclusive it actually is. And today, we're excited to say that we're reviewing a really exciting movie that I'm excited about. What are we reviewing, Justin?
We are talking about a movie that I think is legitimately kind of forgotten, honestly, but it came out in 1993. And before the lead actor went on to take a great journey off to Middle-earth, he went to go take a different journey down the Mississippi. We're talking about Elijah Wood in the role of Mark Twain's famous character in the film The Adventures of Huck Finn.
Woo! I like to call it The Adventures of Jim. Not that other name, that you may have known from those books.
No, we're gonna know.
I call it The Adventures of Jim. The Adventures of Jim. That's why I'm here for this week.
Totally fair.
Part of our Black History Month episode that comes 8 days late.
It's on Filipino time. I'm sorry.
CP time too. Yeah, we're all messing up. But yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this film. Legit a big fan of it. Like, again, I grew up watching it a few times. So I remember like my dad bringing it home on VHS and me watching it and being like enthralled by the story. Also, like even like some of the visual aspect of actually seeing someone get tarred and everything like that.
Yeah.
So honestly, again, movie always like kind of impacted me. Like it was one of those few Disney movies that I used to go back and rewatch again and again because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as a kid, I didn't really understand why, but as I think about it in hindsight, I'm like, oh, because it had a black character in it. Who's like again like legit. Like I'm like, oh, it had Jim and had like a message to it, which I thought was dope.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Justin? What's been your experience with it?
Oh, same. This is actually one of my favorites too. Growing up, I was very much this is good controversial, but I was very much Elijah Wood over Macaulay Culkin. I was a bigger Elijah Wood fan than Macaulay Culkin growing up. I liked
that's
Home
fine.
Alone.
That's fine. We've seen The Good Son.
Yeah,
you should be.
No, we get well because Macaulay's scary in that movie, and Elijah had to stop him.
Exactly. He had to steal the love of his own mother from him, which he actually did.
But I don't know what it was about Elijah Wood. I always felt that he was an actor I really liked and really responded to. And The Adventures of Huck Finn was that movie that I don't know. It was. I think this is the first time I really got the idea of a con artist movie or a con artist story to a certain degree, the way they portray it. And I thought that was kind of cool and fun for a character to be like this. I loved his relationship with Jim. And I'm kind of with you. This movie was definitely a movie I saw a lot growing up, renting it, being on Disney Channel, etc. So when you were like, hey, let's do this one, I was initially like pretty excited. I went, yeah. Oh, I haven't seen this in a while. And so I was curious to see what would have happened if I went to go and revisit this one with 2022 vision,
Okay, so I mean, let's go ahead and get into it. So quick plot breakdown. Justin, you have the plot breakdown?
We got a quick one here for you. It's very simple. So it's Missouri, 1840s. Young Huck Finn is fearful of his drunken father and yearning for adventure, leaving his foster family and joining the runaway slave Jim on a voyage down the Mississippi River towards towards slavery-free states. that's, again, if here's a really good question for you, Johnny. Have you've read the book?
No, parts of it.
Parts of it. Okay. I did growing up. I read the book and I read Tom Sawyer growing up. It was classes. It was an English class requirement, but I did remember reading that, and I remember liking Tom Sawyer, but loving the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn until
until
when Tom Sawyer shows up at the end of Huckleberry Finn. Spoilers, I guess, for Huckleberry Finn. But in the book, Tom Sawyer shows up, and he, for my eyes, completely ruins the ending.
Really?
Yeah. The story was, I remember thinking, oh, Huckleberry Finn is a better book. I remember even thinking that as a kid. I was like, oh, this is the better book. It's got more to say, more drama. It's more engaging. Huckleberry Finn's a more engaging character. Jim his relationship with Jim is more interesting, blah blah blah. And in comes Tom Sawyer, freaking just Tom Sawyering it up in a story that he wasn't invited to.
So in the end of Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer shows up and does what exactly?
So basically, Tom Sawyer essentially comes in at the end of the book and kind of like overtakes the story.
Oh no!
Like he sort of shoves himself in there, and literally like plans things and says, "We're gonna do my idea because I'm Tom Sawyer." And as a kid, I went, "Tom, you had your book. Leave Huck alone."
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you say that, because like part of the reason why I never read it growing up, because like it really was a school requirement in a good way and a bad way, I think. Because like one is like, so it's all known from Detroit, and Detroit public school system is pretty much like 80% African American, because the city's like 80% black.
Right.
And so the thing about this is that, so like when it comes to like doing like education for like black kids, they do an amazing job of it. Like I remember reading Jubilee, the Annie, what's it called, the American Girl series, where we read about Addie, little slave girl, and everything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
They put black stories in front of us on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, wait, why didn't they show us this one? Especially given like how anti-slavery was in some ways, which we'll get into. But I think it's because it's the fact that the book just had like the nowhere N-word Jim in it. It was just that aspect of it. It was like the fact that it's like, for y'all haven't read the book before, they refer to Jim as N-word Jim.
Yeah.
That's like his adjective and description. It was like, what the fuck?
Right.
But in a way, though, I kind of get why Mark Twain did it, which we'll talk about as we get more to this movie. And so that's the reason why we never read it. And honestly, as I was doing research for this thing, I was like, I'm like you, I'm disappointed, because when I was researching this, I was hearing what Mark Twain was saying. And he was saying that when he wrote Tom Sawyer, he was writing like a kid's book, or like, a young boy's book.
Right.
When he got the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, he himself was like, I'm actually making something more important.
Yeah.
This is dope. And I kind of feel like, honestly, like I'd be interested to look into the history of this. Maybe some like literary stories know this, but I kind of feel like, I bet you that was a publisher move. Like they saw the manuscript that was like sent in of Huckleberry Finn. He's rolling with it, whatever. It was like, look, dude, you're getting off the beaten path here. You got this anti-slavery stuff. Look, this N-word Jim guy's cool, but we can't keep doing this. And so they're like, let's bring back Tom Sawyer, like, save face or whatever. It's almost like a bad DC movie in a way.
You gotta put Batman in it.
Also, shout out to Andrew Garfield. That was a damn good Batman. I enjoyed it, sir. Well done, AG. Well done. Twilight what? Twilight who?
That was wrong, British dude.
Never happened, Batman.
Wrong British dude.
Oh, sorry. What's his name? Sorry.
Robert Pattinson.
Same.
Listen.
Robert Pattinson, my bad.
Listen, I get it. He's very good. FYI, yeah, he's great. He was a great Batman. Anyway, but yeah, no, that's a, you know what, dude? That is a entirely decent theory, because that's what it felt like in reading it as a book. Now here's the thing, of course, that's the book. This is a movie. This is a Disney movie. So the tone is definitely going to be a lot lighter. And to be honest, I haven't read the book in a very long time. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. I know there were changes, because obviously there had to have been. I mean, the biggest one is that there's no Tom Sawyer in this at all. And it is kind of interesting on the factor that, like, Tom Sawyer, the book Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn is in the book, So it's interesting that we're doing the spin-off movie, technically, the spin-off story, that has no Tom Sawyer mentioning it at all, even though Tom Sawyer is a big part of Huck's backstory in terms of what audiences or readers remember him. And it's kind of like doing a Venom movie before he shows up in Spider-Man, to go back to comic book references. And it's weird that there's a Venom movie, but then like, but with no Spider-Man connection, it's kind of weird. It's kind of how Huck Finn feels like. Mm-hmm. But regardless of that, they had to reconstruct everything to just so it's its own story. It's its own, no connection to Tom Sawyer. It's just got to be its own character. But truth be told, I don't remember the book very much outside of hating Tom Sawyer's involvement at the end. So I was kind of curious to kind of look into this movie. And in case you folks don't know, the director of this film is the director eventually will go on to direct The Mummy and Mummy Returns, which are fine films.
Fine films, amazing films. Amazing films. Let's take Indiana Jones and throw in a little bit of horror. Yes, please. And jokes. Keep it coming. Yes. Keep it coming. No. Second film, we got The Rock. Oh my gosh. Literally launched that man's career.
Yeah. No. So I don't know. It's here's the funny thing. Knowing he directed those two movies, I'm watching this movie going, you know what? I can see it.
And penned them. And wrote them as well.
And wrote them, just like this movie. I could see it. Same sense of humor, same adventure-filled stuff going on. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, low key, and same like legit, almost like diverse casting as well.
Almost.
Like I remember, legit, I remember loving The Mummy because again, it was like there's just like so many people of color in that bad boy too. Though, like when they bring in like the secret magi or whatever, I used to just call them the Jedi and all this kind of things. And then when we got to the second film, it's like he just like took it up a notch and everything. Like, dude, like Stephen Summers, I gotta give credit. That white man's pretty fucking down. Like I gotta give him credit. Stephen Summers is fucking down for the people. He put in that work. Like he's telling good stories out here. He's doing damn good. Because here's the thing, like honestly, kind of like as we're gonna rewatch this film, I was legit worried. I was like, wait, directed by Stephen Summers, written by Stephen Summers. Like, oh no, he's had too much control. He's gonna go wild. That will not appreciate it the same way. But now I'm like, damn, Stephen Summers, you the man.
This was his second movie, might I add. This was his second movie. He did his first film relatively at a low budget, like film in, I think, Canada. And it didn't get a big release, but he went from that to doing this movie, which was clearly a bigger movie with a pretty big cast. So one of the things I do want to bring up, though, this is where I had like a weird, my mind kept like clicking on left and right brain throughout watching the movie. Is that it's a family film. It's a Disney movie. You got a spunky little boy as the lead. We do have a main character who's a slave. And it is a heck of a thing watching this movie and seeing the lead character not reject, but just be befuddled on the idea of Jim wanting to be free. And that was a whole, like, which I get, it's history. It's in the book. It's just really, it was like very surreal as I'm watching this, like going, I'm seeing the lead character of the story go like question why a black man wants to not be a slave. And it's a trip.
And to be honest, I was so happy they did it. I was so here for it.
Okay, cool.
Because the reason why is because like I get what like because again as you're watching this so the whole premise of the movie for y'all who haven't seen it is that like the setup is like Huckleberry Finn's kind of like this rambunctious kid or whatever, and then in the very beginning like he finds out his dad is coming back, and his dad is this abusive drunk alcoholic who pretty much shows up at this like woman's home where he's like Huck is staying at, kidnaps him, takes him away from that woman, takes him back to his cabin, like beats him, does all this stuff to him, pretty much like holds this kid hostage, it takes him against his will. And so what's crazy is that like in a way once they set that up, they set it up so in a way Huck now like experienced in a way what the slaves experience where they have their freedom taken away and they're kidnapped and put in a position they don't want to be in, which from Ryan's standpoint is like, Mark Twain, you're a fucking genius. Like that's the reason why they have an Mark Twain award right now. And so part of the reason why I was for this aspect of like Huck being denial about it, and it's like when he goes to his own experiences realize like, oh shit, that's what I felt like when my freedom was taken away. You just want your freedom too. It's that realization right there. And the reason why I love it too is because in a way this book kind of serves as anti-slavery propaganda, which is dope. Because the thing about it is, if you just came out of the gate saying like super military, like slavery's bad, Huck's over here with a gun trying to kill like slave masters, blah blah blah, it'd be dope as hell. I'd be down for it. But the problem is though, is that how many minds are you going to change?
Right.
Like I remember like a cool book. I'm not sure if you've ever read it. Is a narrative of life of Frederick Douglass, and the narrative of life of Frederick Douglass. Have you read it?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you remember, like the thing about it is, the whole book is an argument against slavery. But the way Frederick Douglass does it is he sets it up in a smart way.
Yeah.
He doesn't show the negative aspects of slavery upon the slaves. He shows it on the parts of white people.
Mm-hmm.
He shows how slavery dehumanizes them and takes them from being good people to making them evil.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, again, Frederick Douglass being smart as hell, doing that, being another genius, was like, this is the way I'm going to create an argument against anti-slavery, which is like dope. And so, with Mark Twain doing this with Huck Finn, I'm like, dude, this is fucking amazing. This man is out here making this anti-slavery story and like denouncing this, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I got to give credit to Stephen Summers that like when he got the hold of this book, he kept a hold of that theme. He could have easily made this like a Hollywood, like like boy, like venture and everything like that. Maybe cut those elements out to focus on like the rambunctious nature of going on adventures and whatnot. Kind of like that trash ass film, Tom and Huck.
We don't talk about Tom and Huck.
We coming for you, JTT. We coming for you. We'll get you one day.
This is not a house where I want to talk about Tom and Huck.
But the thing about it was that like again, but Huckleberry Finn, the Adventures of Huck Finn, he kept the heart of that book, was the anti-slavery piece, which is fucking dope.
Yeah.
And he also made some smart choices here too, because knowing it's Disney, he wants kids always to watch this. At amount of time, he drops certain things from it, but kind of keeps the tone of it as well.
Yeah. Well, no, here's the thing, right? Like it's like you said, like it's like like honestly, actually, to kind of paraphrase another Disney film, like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? So like you tell the story and you have here's the thing. Why was it so trippy for me to see the Elijah Wood not understand why slavery is bad? Because I live in 2022 where like, yeah, you should be thinking that. But you're right. If the character of Huck was like immediately knew that like this is bad, sure, it would have made you want to root for him more, 100%. But it also shows that like, but Huck is still a byproduct of the era he grew up in, and that he thinks and knows what's normal for him. Air quote, this is how it's always been. And for him to learn and grow in the film, to really see and realize like, oh, I can't. Well, I love Jim. Jim's like the only family I really got, but this is society. This is how we're supposed to. But no, I guess that is wrong. Oh no, I got to get him out of here. It's like bit by bit, like Huck has to realize like, oh shoot, yeah, I guess that is wrong. But I mean, you kind of forgive him a little bit. He's like 12, know, but like you understand that he's got to grow from something. So the movie is, it's funny. It's like back then, I'm pretty sure it wasn't even that controversial because they were like, oh, that's the book, But yeah, you do that now, it's jarring, to see a little boy go like telling a black man who wants to be free. He's like, that's weird. Why do you want that? I don't understand that. To now standards, but
but I like the way they set up in the film as well, where they talk about, well, like Huck tells him like, Jim, that's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always going to be. Yeah. And it just kind of shows how racism and all these like sexist, homophobic, different institutions, they just come about because people believe that's the way things are supposed to be, and they accept it. And it's allowed to continue on in different forms no matter where you go. Right. And it's not until we push back against those systems that things begin to change. Because it's funny, because like as we talk about this, it's like I'm thinking about what's happening over Ukraine right now. I throw support to Ukrainian people and everything that's happening. Yeah. At the same time, though, all those people of color over there are getting totally fuck over right now. Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure some of you have seen the videos on like different mediums and different news outlets where they show like like people of African descent and like Asian Americans trying to get out of the country and they're being denied. Some of them are like crime overalls and they're accepting the white refugees but not them, and they're really getting beaten and hurt for this. Yeah. And then also the language being used around what's happening in this war as well, where people are like, we can't believe this is happening to these poor Ukrainian people. We would expect something like this to occur like in the Middle East and so on and so forth, which is like, the fuck? It's like, where is this racist thing coming from? I'm dropping the F-bombs a lot this episode.
Yeah, you are.
It's Black History Month, y'all. I get angry sometimes, but that's the thing though. And so it's sad, but in a way, like again, shout out to them making this movie during this time period, because we need films like this continue to be made now because we have to battle that like kind of racist, ignorant thinking that kind of persists in people because like they get to that point where they accept that, oh, this is the way it is, this is the way things are supposed to be. Where it's like, no, this is bullshit. This is bias. This is literally racism. This is a systemic problem that you're allowed to perpetuate and go on. But shout out to Jim though for educating Huck. Like he has that conversation with him. Granted, it's some really fucking flawed logic there where they have that argument about the slavery with the Frenchman.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is some fucking flawed ass logic. But hey, Jim, do whatever you got to do to win. Like, as long as he came over to your side, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, he got there. You got there, Jim. So
yeah.
How are you feeling about Elijah Wood in this film?
So, you know what? I had forgotten how good of an actor like a young Elijah Wood was and why I like this kid and why he was in everything. Like again, as you're watching young Elijah Wood, it's like he's just acting. You forget that he's a kid actor like that. You're just watching him play this character. And he does a damn good job at it. Elijah Wood is a talented mofo.
Yeah. No, like I said, I'm Elijah Wood over Macaulay Culkin, and I was always a fan of seeing him in generally anything when I was a kid. It was interesting. I think I knew talent even as a kid. I knew like, oh yeah, this guy's good. This guy's really good. Like I don't know if you ever saw the movie North.
Of course, yeah. Where he goes look for parents and everything like that.
He is insanely funny in that movie. Like just the comic timing on that one alone. This one, he is again like he's charming. He's likable. You kind of get why he'll do the crap he'll do, you know. But I gotta ask you though, which one's the worst accent, the Southern or the English?
Definitely the English.
Yeah,
definitely the English. But at the same time, though, when you put on that English accent, that mofo was charming as hell. Like, there's an amazing scene where they like. So okay, we're gonna jump around, but towards the end, they meet up with the Duke and what's the Duke's partner's name? The King, right?
Yeah.
And the Duke and the King are going around pulling a con on people. And they're pretending to be these two brothers from overseas, from England, or still like this inheritance from these like girls. And towards the end, the real brothers show up, and so they start questioning them. And at one point, they start questioning like young Huck Finn, young DJ Frodo Baggins, right there. And they think they're going to throw him off his game, but young Huck spins this like elaborate lie or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, either you're a psychopath or the greatest child liar we've ever seen. And Elijah was just like, either way, thank you very much. Why is this man so charming? Oh, let him take the ring. Let him take the ring. Go destroy it. He should be the ring bearer.
So let's talk Courtney B. Vance as Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Courtney B. Vance as Jim. I feel like, first off, I think he does a good job of what he's asked to do, you know, in the story. And here's the thing, right? Like this is a touchy thing we gotta do in this movie, right? He has to represent, you know, he's essentially the in a roundabout kind of way, he's representing slavery to Hook. Mm-hmm. And Jim has to be a character who can believably be close friends to a child without feeling creepy. But also you know, feels like an adult who has aspirations and dreams that any adult can understand, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Courtney brings a lot of that weight to it. And yet also, you know, has a little bit of that fun that you can see why him and Huck are friends.
Yeah.
You know.
No, definitely. And I think the other thing that Courtney does really well is that he plays a role with a lot of dignity.
Yes.
The thing about it is that with playing a slave, you can easily fall into the role of Oza Noza, Mr. Huck Finn. What's we gonna do? I ain't been scared like this since I was with Mr. Kenobi. Oof. Fuck you, Jar Jar. All right. But anyway, but the thing about it is though, is that like, but no, he plays a role with a sense of dignity, whereas like you can tell Jim's intelligent.
Yeah.
Jim knows things, he has rational thought. Yeah. But there's these moments where Jim comes up, he doesn't know things about the world. Like, he talks about French and like different languages. But at the same time, though, it's not putting down Jim's intelligence. In a way, the thing about Izzo is just showing that he's a slave, so he doesn't have access to these things.
Right.
He's not able to read because of the fault of slavery. Any ignorance that Jim holds is not a fault of his own. It's a fault of the system that he's been a part of. Yeah. Because Jim has rational thoughts, though, and he like recognizes the game. Like when that slave over shows up, he says, like, I'm going to give you like promise of $800, $900 for Jim. He does the math. He's like, times are hard. She's going to sell me because she needs to make rent, mortgage, all these different things like that. and she's gonna take away from my family. So he makes a rational decision, which is like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. And he has a plan: escape, go to Cairo, go up, go to the north. Da da da. He's like, the man has a plan. But the thing about it is that again, things just happen to go wrong with him and Huck going to their adventures.
Yeah. I think it's a good point you bring up, is that, like, like he's not dumb when he doesn't know things about the French. He's, I think that's a very key way of what you describe as his performance, is just that, no, because of him being a slave, he's sheltered, so he doesn't know better. So I think those scenes are really delicate in terms of the fact that, like, Elijah Wood has to act, and they have to believably be friends, but Huck is somehow, because of his upbringing, he knows more than Jim, the adult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be done in a way where it doesn't make Jim look like a weird child who doesn't know anything about the real world. He's still a grown ass man, but he just doesn't know anything outside of what he's had to been a part of. And the movie makes sure to make you not think that he's, like, no, he's not an idiot. He's just, this is the reality for him,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a strange thing about their connection, is that it really works. Like, their chemistry really works. You can see them, like, play sword fighting on top of the raft. But also, you can see Jim being a man who has a child and a wife that he wants to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very, very well and very carefully done performance. I think Courtney B. Vance did a really great job in that part.
Magnificent. And also shout out to Courtney B. Vance because the man had an entire career after this.
Oh yeah.
Like, here's the thing: DJ Frodo Baggins has like an illustrious career. Got to be Lord of the Rings, Good Son, a bunch of other great films north, as we've talked about. But he's been in a lot of great films. And Courtney B. Vance has been a working actor for like years and years. And so Stephen Sommer, as we talked about, Stephen Sommer went over this with The Mummy Returns, Scorpion King. And so the cool thing about this movie is those that while this movie may not be appreciated by everyone, cough, producer Stacy. But
Why are you calling out producer Stacy for no good reason? That's me.
I'm joking, producer Stacy. I'm just messing. You didn't get a chance to watch it, but I'm just messing with her. Making sure she stays awake. but no, but the thing about it is though is that, like, the cool thing about it is though is that this movie did its job in a way where it's like it helped launch all these individuals' careers.
Yeah.
Where they were all able to go on to do other dope projects and whatnot. And it's awesome. And again, they take these lessons with them because again, Stephen Sommer goes on this, and pretty much everything that he's done has had people of color in main roles. Like, again, I go back again, not jump around too much. I think about The Mummy too, where it had Adebisi from Oz in there playing one of the main villain roles.
Yeah.
You had the Jedi dude who's like a Middle Eastern actor or whatever. It's
like fair.
So the thing about this though is that Stephen Sommer always keeps people of color like starring in his films as much as he can.
Yeah.
So shout out to him, dude. So all in all, like, yeah, I got to give this thing like a lot of credit. It's like, it helped launch their careers and it does great storytelling. And I also love the fact that it denounces not just slavery, but a lot of different aspects of Southern life that Mark Twain saw as problematic, like feuds, for example.
No, what was that, for example?
Oh, feuds.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
which is a big plot point, which actually stood out to me because, like, so wait, let me ask you, like, so the setup for it is in the movie, everybody, is that as Huck and Jim are on the boat, there's one point where they get thrown off and they get separated. They end up being found by this family. The family takes Huck in. Huck is always spinning these lies, and he tells them these lies or whatever, and they decide like to take care of him, keep him with their family or everything like that. And then they find Jim, but they throw Jim into like they make him born their slaves. Like, oh, we found the slave, we're gonna claim him as ours and blah blah, put chains on him, which is effed up. Is like you just find a black man, he becomes property. Again, shows you the problematic nature of slavery during this time period.
Right.
But another thing that's going on with the family is they're in a feud that's been going on for 30 years with this other family. And so Huck asks, like, what's a feud? And a feud is like pretty much like when two families are going to war with each other and it's out for blood. It's like, as the kid explains it, one brother kills another brother, then that same brother comes back and kills that brother, and just keeps going on and on. Like a famous American feud is like the American feuds, the Hatfields and the McCoys. For any history buffs out there. But in this film, though, we get to see like the actual ramifications and repercussions of a feud on a family, where pretty much like Huck, again, he likes these people, they take care of him, they're super nice to him. Like, again, and Huck actually wants to stay there on the farm with them. He's like, I want to stay here. But what ends up happening is Jim gets beat, and so he's like, look, we got to go because of that. But then the feud reaches an escalation point where an entire family gets murdered.
Yeah.
And it's like
well, it especially hits hard when, like, before all that chaos happens, like, the kid's explaining, Billy's explaining what's going, like that's the family who's in this feud. He's the little boy, he's befriending Huck, he's explaining everything, and then just like Huck's like, well, why are you guys fighting? And Billy's like, oh, like I said, we've been doing it for 30 years. And then literally Jim is like the one who goes, you guys are killing each other? You don't know why? Like, like, and Billy doesn't have an answer for that, But the thing about this, right? Like you said, like this unnecessary death, and then this poor boy has to like gun up already. He's already got to have his guns ready. He's 12, he's 13, but he's already got to get ready to kill potentially another family member, another person who's in this feud. Potentially could be another child he might have to shoot.
Yeah,
and that's just ridiculous,
No, it's sad. And when it reminds you, I was like, well, one, also shout out again to the writer, because Jim is one who says that line, which again gives him back that dignity that we talked about, shows that intelligence. But it's just sad. It just kind of goes against like one of the native aspects of human nature, is that like we get in these modes of just killing each other for no reason. Whether it's over like country territory, whether it's not, it's gangs, whether or not it's like family feuds, like we come up with the dumbest ass reasons for killing each other.
Yeah.
And Stephen Summer and the cast here do a great job of showing how dumb these actual fucking feuds are. The sad thing about it is that we still see shit like this happen to this day, though.
Yeah.
In multiple forms.
One of the things I also wanted to bring up too was like, and you brought this up actually earlier today, is the fact that the film might be the first time I've ever seen in live action the depiction of tar and feathering.
Yeah.
Which is, I want to bring something up about that. Is like this really shows how that practice was in the cultural mindset for a generation of animators. Because you look at some old like Looney Tunes cartoons, the amount of times I can think of a character getting tarred and feathered in like an old Looney Tunes cartoon was staggering. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant when I watched tar and feathering as a kid. I was like, oh, okay, so you just put like black gunk on them, and then you put feathers on them so they look like a bird. Okay, I thought it looked embarrassing. I didn't realize, because I didn't know what tar was as a child. This is the first time I've ever actually heard it laid out, because what Huck is worried about is being tarred and feathered, but of course, what Jim is worried about is being lynched, and so, and Huck will be lynched, will be tarred and feathered, and Jim will be. It's like really, they're both like feeling like this is horrifying, no matter what the situation is for either of them. But the Duke and the King is the first times I've ever seen any live action character actually explain what happens to you when you get tarred and feathered. And as a kid, that scared the hell out of me.
Same. Same. Like pretty much like, just you fill in the blanks of anything I'm missing, but they pretty much say that like when you get tarred and feathered, it's like you think it's over, but it's like no, the tar doesn't come off. Yeah. It closes up your skin pores, and it gets in everywhere, and your skin can't breathe. Yeah. And so you're left there like gasping for air. Yeah. And then the thing about this is that like most of the time, like it kills you. And those who doesn't kill, they wish they died. They wish they would have died. Yeah. And people do all kinds of things to get the tar, because I remember like I started reading up on it, like they'll like try to burn it off and like all these different things, like peel it off, and it's just a horrible, horrible fucking thing. But to your point though, like again, it's like all of these animators and whatnot used to show it to us over the years. And what kind of goes to my mind is like Mark Twain must have seen like a tar and feathering. Yeah. And know someone who went through it. It was like, that's torture. Yeah. It's just some fucked up shit.
Can I also point out that you and me both agree it's a horrific practice. It sounds like an absolute nightmare to ever have happened to you. But I guess spoilers if you haven't seen Huck and Finn, it does happen to somebody in the film, and they treat it like a sight gag. it's like, haha, they got tarred and feathered, and I'm like, oh, but isn't this like literally a horrific thing that will happen to these characters that will kill them eventually?
You're talking about the Duke and the King, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, Justice, that's the thing though. I didn't take it for gags. Like I would, again, it's interesting because like, did you see the movie in theaters?
I did, and then people laughed at that bit.
I did not. When I saw that, because I guess it might just be the tone, but like I remember watching that at home, because I remember again, it's dark at night, they're on the thing, and then he does the cough.
I'll say
that one cough, and I'm like, oh shit, it's already started. He's about to die.
Here's the thing, dude. I get it. If you didn't see it that way, that's great. I view that scene, the way they shot it, almost like a comedy sight gag, because it's definitely not treated with any intensity to it. They drove by, they're clearly tarred, and it almost comes. To me, it looks like it looks like it's shot like a joke.
I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I kind of respectfully disagree because, like, I
That's
remember
fair. That's fair.
like,
And I respectfully disagree with you. I think it's done as a joke. But go on.
Because I remember the storm scene was happening at that point in time.
Sure.
It was reaching that big climb at the point where like they're running away. The storm is live. There's lightning in the air and everything like that. They've got the torches like an angry mob, like out of Frankenstein, and they do a quick shot to them, and I'm just like, oh shit! It just again in that moment of intensity, it just kind of added to that moment of intensity. And just me personally, I felt bad for them, and it scared me. That's the reason why the tar and feathering sticks out to me. Like when he goes through and describes it, I'm like, cool, that's fucked up. Yeah. They showed them in tar and feathering as a kid. I remember going back and watching that, like, it just being again horrified by it.
No, and I think it's still horrifying. It's just, I don't know. For me, it looks like the way the music is played underneath that scene, the way they shot it, like it's coming off as like, oh, haha, they got tarred and feathered. And to me, that's the tone I got. Especially, I literally watched it last night, and that's what I looked at it. And even as a kid, I remember that being a laugh scene in the theater. So for me, it's weird that like it comes off as a comedy beat. Haha, the bad guys got what they deserve. They got tarred and feathered. But also it's still horrific because like as a it's a Disney film, it's a family film, and I'm sitting here going like, but didn't you guys just explain in horrific detail that this will lead to death and wanting death? So look, again, everyone views things differently. For me, I definitely view it this way, and you definitely probably viewed it maybe possibly the correct way. But definitely when I was a kid, I do remember that being a laugh bit at the audience, and you know what? Like it's to me, it comes off that way. But I'm not saying you're not wrong because it's still kind of horrific, especially as we know.
No, for me, I saw it more as like I said, it was like more of a horror thing.
Sure.
That's the weird things though when you throw comedy in with horror and like stuff like that, and you try and do this, is like you leave those beats up to interpretation. Like another example of this that Stephen Summer does is like remember the first Mummy.
Yeah.
And remember she says like the little dude who's like all Weasley or whatever. She's like, and what's the girl's name? Annie. Now what's her name? Evie. And she says to me, like, you know what happens to people like you? You die in a very horrific way and blah, 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 and all this shit like that. And then what ends up happening, he gets locked in the temple at the end. He's like there with all the gold. Then the lights are going out and he gets surrounded by the Beatles or whatever. He's like, oh shit. And that's one of those moments right there was like kind of comedy, kind of horrific. Yeah, it's like, it's that in between the Stephen Summer kinds of walks right there. So
you know what? That's fair.
We're probably both right. Whereas like he wanted to do both right there. He wanted to horrify you, but also kind of make some people laugh at the same time. Because if you have that dark sense of humor, you're kind of laughing at this. But at the same time, though, if you're like also just horrified by the shit, you kind of get both. So in a way, knowing Stephen Summer style, I bet you he's probably trying to go for both right there too, maybe.
You know what? That's actually a fantastic point. Using using the Mummy scene as a reference. That's actually a really good point. I would see. You
might need to review the Mummy at some point. If you'd like us to review the Mummy, please go to our Patreon.
I also need to do the Mummy for my remake show, so maybe we'll team up there. Or anyway, so let's see what else we can talk about this. So now I want to talk about the ending for sure. Do you want to jump to the end?
Okay, I do, but I also want to give a shout out to the ladies of the film too, though.
Please.
So so the cool thing about it is that like we do see like some women here and there, like no black women sound enough. Honestly, the only black character really gets to talk is Jim. However, though, we do see at the beginning we see his aunts that are taking care of Huck. And the cool thing about the aunts is they're not shown as damsels in distress or like just like weak women or any way. Like the one aunt, she's like very nice to him. The other aunt, when Huck skips school, comes back at school clothes, starts to tell this ridiculous lie. One aunt just like calling him on his shit. It was like, damn, weren't there 10 orphans last week or some shit like that? I thought you beat them all up. Yeah, they came back with more. And she like, kind of calls him on his bullshit, which is like dope to see. Yeah. Then towards the end, when we go to the three sisters, we have the youngest sister who's like starts questioning Hook about England.
Yeah,
kind of warns Hook like, watch out, what you say. And then Elijah's like, dude, calm down. There ain't no reason to be scared of girls. And she starts grilling this dude. England, which you're from Sheffield, but the Queen lives in London. That's not close to each other, and blah blah blah. And just starts grilling this dude. You swear he was like in the in the witness room right now getting grilled by a detective. She goes in on him.
Yeah.
And when she leaves, they're both like, "Fuck!" Like we almost got caught. And so again, showing that woman has intelligence, which is dope. And then at the very end, like when everything's going down, like again, everything's getting found out. Who comes and saves the day? It's the older sister. She has that rifle in her hand. She's like, "Let them go." It's like Elijah Wood, Huck Finn warned us about the Duke and the King. They told us to go away to keep us safe and everything like that. And comes through and saves in the end with that rifle. It's like, damn, that's some badass ladies.
Also, fun little trivia fact too. So the middle, there's the Mary Jane, who's the oldest sister, played by Anne Heche. And then we have the youngest sister. I think I have her name right here. I'm gonna just give her a credit shout out because she does deserve it for the scene. Yeah, Laura Bell Bundy played Susan, but there's a middle child, character named Julia Wilkes, and I realized I recognized her because she is Gabrielle in Xena.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's her.
Holy crap. Oh my God, it's Gabrielle. Shout out to all my Xena Warrior Princess fans.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's her. So that's like one of her earliest roles is in that scene, is in that movie. So
I did not recognize her. And I kind of want to do a rewatch and keep looking like, oh, look, someone give her a bow staff. Someone give her a bow staff. I should just start fucking everybody up.
No, that's true. And I think that it's funny. The film has a lot of actually interesting scenes about that, where they do have like fun, like kind of smarter female characters kind of catching aware of the moment. Like here's the funny thing. It's a scene that's both, it shows that the female character is smart and like way above the situation, but also still finding a way to knock the stereotypes of women back then, because the film takes place in the 1840s. So it's a scene where Huck is dressed up as a little girl to try to get supplies.
Yeah.
And so there's this other character's name. The character is credited as Shanty Lady. Fair enough.
Shanty Lady.
Played, and the actor is Frances Conroy, who I recognize. I realized is the mother from 6 Feet Under, and she's like talking on and on about, oh, that poor Huck Finn got, that the poor child got murdered, blah blah blah, and while Huck is pretending to be a little girl to steal all her stuff, and I think at one point this woman starts realizing, wait a minute, and she asks the girl to, hey, could you take care of that rat over there? Just throw this at it. And Huck, as the girl, go, absolutely, ma'am, and just like does a full on like rookie of the year level
you hear the crack
and just like smashes it, and immediately she's like, I knew it, you're lying, because no girl could hit that hard. To which I'm like, this is both weirdly progressive on her, but also regressive.
Sexist at the same time. I thought the same thing was like that's some damn good detective work, but kind of fucked up at the same time.
Yeah, right. It's like, how do you 2 steps, 2 back? All right. It's 1840s. What can you say? So I do want to talk. Okay, here's where we're gonna go into the ending now, because ending gets pretty intense. So Huck and Jim finally get out. They're being chased, and the town is just pissed. This is before Mary Jane saves Huck, obviously, and those folks are pissed, and they want bloody murder now, because they're just in that mood, and they are literally shooting a child, and sadly Jim, and
again, another scene that stuck out to me to this day. Like when it went down, I remember like Huck getting shot in the back and falling to the ground. I was like,
Huck gets shot.
Oh, shit.
The 12-year-old boy gets shot in a Disney movie.
It's like they are not fucking around.
He does the platoon slow-mo, like that type of stuff. And I'm just like, you shot a child. Mm-hmm. Like, but he's also the title character, so I guess that makes sense. He's the hero of the story. So Huck is bleeding on the ground. Jim's trying to get him and trying to help him, but Jim thinks the only answer is like, I guess I gotta take him to them so they can heal him and fix him. But as he's picking up Huck, the town folks are mad. He drops Huck.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
That thing though, where like, because you go back a little bit, sorry to interrupt, but it's like Huck's like, it's like, no, Jim, you got to get away. You got to go back. It's like, they're going to kill you. He's like, it's like, as long as they help you.
Yeah.
Which again, which is kind of dope, because like throughout this whole thing, we've seen like, Huck kind of help Jim, because again, he's able to go places that Jim can because of his privilege.
Right.
So, again, even though he's a child, given that he's white, he has access to so many different things, so many different scenarios, and whatnot. But at the end, though, it's like again, Jim's like, "Nah, I'm gonna save you," and it's dope. And it's fucking dope.
Yeah, and this is where again, like the knowing it's a Disney family film, but the imagery here is so harsh. Jim is gonna be lynched in front of Huck. Like, that is some intense shit.
Yep, no trial, no questioning. Rope comes out of fucking nowhere like magic. It's like rope. It's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? And Huck is literally begging for him not to do it. As I quote him, he's all I got. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. And then Jim was like, you're the only friend I've ever had, Huck. And I'm like, damn. Also, I'm like, Jim, you have a wife. You're supposed to be your friend. But all right, dude. All right. I get it though. Like, you need outside friends. So I understand. Granted, if his wife was there, I would like that camera shot. I was like, Huck, you're my friend. Panther was like, motherfucker.
And Jim's like, I'm fond of you too. But but no, it's like, again, this visual of an intense, very emotional lynching scene in a children's family film is buck wild. In a Disney movie. That is buck wild, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But also probably maybe the reasons why I kind of this movie stuck out for me as a kid, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, same, because again, we bring up Tom and Huck, which is again, like, you know, like the John Taylor Thomas like movie they do or whatever. And it's supposed to be like, you know, the Pretty Boy adventure movie and all this stuff like that. But again, we don't remember that. That doesn't stick in our minds. But as we talk about this film, we remember these scenes, we remember these moments, and they had an impact on us because they did some really great fucking storytelling there, and they took risks. They did things you normally don't do with Disney movies around time period.
And again, going back to kind of what you're talking about, like it's a movie that, like, again, like, you know, much like, you know, Mark Twain's book of being like, hey, like, you should probably know this is bad. Like, if you're not clear why this is bad, we should not be treating people like this.
Mm-hmm. And what's cool too is as like you think about it, like as the audience or like if people reading the book, it's like no, don't kill Jim. He didn't kill Huck. Huck's right there.
Yeah, you
know, all the stuff is happening. They didn't do any of this. He's right there. So all of a sudden, you've got the audience cheering for this black man.
Right.
Cheering for this black man, becoming an ally of this black man.
Yeah.
And when they go out to the real world, they look at other black men and women like, oh shit.
That's the power of storytelling, right? That's what you do, and it's like Twain smartly did that to make the readers care about Jim. Henceforth, if they did this right in this movie, the viewers would also want to see Jim survive this, you know? And yeah, it kind of, to me, it kind of goes back to this whole thing where, to kind of quote like Roger Ebert said, the movies are like a machine that generate empathy, you know? And this movie is like, you know, like showing children this kind of harsh imagery as safely as Disney will allow them, does educate children to know this is what our history is. You know, like, this is what you have to know, and this is what we did, and it was normal, and it's not right. If you feel bad about Jim, that's because you definitely learned this is not right. And that's something to be said. You know, it's the reason, you know, like, you know, it's the reason why, like, you need to, you know, it's the reason why, like, historical stories, you know, are important to show to children, because they need to know, like, oh, look, this was normal.
It also makes me wonder too, though, like, not even wonder, but also kind of makes me realize too why Huckleberry Finn isn't as celebrated as Tom Sawyer is.
Right.
Like, Tom Sawyer kind of reference like all these different places. They always kind of go back to him. And it's kind of because, like, again, Tom Sawyer was just like some lighthearted fun.
Yeah.
Where, like, Huckleberry Finn was making a message, was making a statement about something. And it mattered. Because it's funny, like, I think about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where they want to change Alan Moore's version of it, and they want to bring an American literary character. It's like, you could have brought in Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
With his homie Jim, partners to this day, ride or dying across the world. Fuck yeah, the original Rush Hour. But no, instead, But instead, they're bringing Tom Sawyer because it's like a safe bet.
A safe bet.
And so it kind of is interesting. So again, it just makes you realize, like, again, like how important Huckleberry Finn is and how much more stuff they need to do with it.
I want to say, side note, I love that idea so much more. Same. I always thought the addition of Agent Sawyer was such a BS way to try to add an American to the movie. And also just to be that guy, it doesn't historically fit the timeline. He wouldn't have been that age. It wouldn't have made fuck it. But if we're gonna do this dumb idea, I would have been way more excited for Agent Jim and Agent Huck. Hell yeah.
Exactly. Who's here? Jim and Huck saving the day.
Oh yeah.
It's a blazing. We need. Oh shit! I might need to make that comic one day.
Oh please
the
do.
Adventures of Jim and Huck. The Adventures of Jim and Huck. It continues.
Dude, I'd read that.
Ooh, Jim and Huck, abolitionist slave freers. They ride around the South freeing fucking slaves.
Johnny. Johnny.
Ryder.
You gotta fucking do.
I might need to make this.
You're gonna put that in your back pocket. You're gonna let that ferment, and when you're ready,
watch you look up 3 years from now if I don't write it. And we're like, the fuck is Disney making the continued adventures of Jim and Huck?
You should listen to our podcast. No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a damn good idea. You should definitely like somewhere on that one. All right. So there we go. That's the Adventures of Huck Finn.
Okay, so right now we get to that part of the show where we go ahead and we rate it. So we, as you know, here at Disney+Diversity, we rate films not by how good they are, but how inclusive they are. And our rating system goes as woke means the diverse, inclusive, push the genre forward. Waking means it's doing a good job, but it's making some mistakes along the way. Or sleep as shit, which means it's as problematic as most of the slave masters and slave catchers in this film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So we'll be right back. Everyone do us a favor, drop your comments in the chat. Or if you listen to this on YouTube, go ahead and drop it in your comments. Or if you're listening to this on our podcast, tweet. Let us know what you gave the film. Okay. One sec.
All right. As I'm getting this ready to go. Producer Stacy, do you want to go ahead and kind of tell the audience what we got next in 2 weeks?
Yes, I was ready to do that. All right. So hopefully, as a lot of people know, this Friday, I believe, dropping on Disney Plus is the new Pixar movie Turning Red, which I'm very excited for. Someone here has seen it already.
Yeah.
Lucky you. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, so that's going to actually be our next episode. We're going to talk about Turning Red. That's going to be Tuesday, March 22nd.
Wait, Justin already saw it?
Yeah, I did.
Justin, buy bootleg versions of Disney stuff. Give them the money the right way.
Don't spread lies like that. I saw a screener. I saw a screener and I reviewed it for a website called the Nerds Rule the World. So it came out. The review came out yesterday. So
don't believe him.
Hey, go read that review. Everyone, go look up that review also.
Yes, thank you. But I'll have more.
Seriously, congrats, Justin. Happy you got to go check it out.
Thank you. I was I look forward to having more conversations about the film when everyone else sees it. Especially when you guys get around to seeing it, so we can do that for the show. But do check it out, and then join us in the conversation when we get to when we get back to the going back to live in a couple weeks. So I am ready, Johnny.
So am I.
Okay. All right.
So we'll review our ratings to the screen on 3. So again, we either woke it as woke, waking, or sleep as shit. Here we go. On 3. 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, interesting. We got a waking and a woke.
Yeah. All right, so you want to go ahead and tell us why you gave it waking?
It's only because of the fact that I feel like and again, we are talking about an adaptation of Mark Twain's book. So obviously, one element that it kind of sort of can't be fixed without shoving a character that you have to create and justify and try to make work, and you could have made it work, is adding more females to the story. But understandable, it's an adaptation. So, and I don't particularly remember having a strong female character in Huckleberry Finn that they can adapt to the movie. But they did, and that's why they boosted up the character of Mary Jane the way they did, and the sisters. But also I do feel like it's a balancing act that I feel they mostly got, but it's very jarring to my 2022 eyes of seeing a movie that's a fun adventure, like boy and his best friend movie that's also with harsh imagery about slavery and dealing with the realities of that, but doesn't mean it doesn't mean that the intent didn't work. It's just very jarring to me, and I'm wondering if I think it mostly works, but I can't help. It's not really a knock on this movie, but I can't help but wonder. I think we're overdue on someone looking at this material and trying out a new adaptation for a new generation. It has been quite a while since anyone's really touched the Mark Twain characters of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. But that's not a real knock on this film at the end of the day. I do feel like the movie's intent is mostly there, and it does a great job of keeping it entertaining for kids. Still, directed by a white guy, but also it is written, the famous book is written by a white guy who was trying to do some good.
Yeah.
So fair.
I hear you. For me, and I hear everything you're saying, but the only reason why I gave it woke is because of the original intention of the book, and the fact they kept the original intention in the film.
Fair.
The whole book is made as an argument against slavery.
Yes.
And it's kind of convinced people to be anti-racist. And so in a way, you're kind of like, it's all a big, like, kind of chess game in a way. We're trying to do all these moves to convince them that like racism is bad by one, creating an endearing character, having character be thrown into a racist situation, feeling bad for that character to be thrown into that, again, where Huck was kidnapped, all these different things like that. And then you compare that to Jim, who's going through the exact same thing, and all other black people during that time period. And the fact that you're able to keep that in the film was like fucking good. Good job, Steven Summer. Because this was being made by Disney, they could have done Tom and Huck, which they did later on. But instead, what they did was they did the movie. They kept the same exact themes, and they also made some changes that kind of helped out too by getting rid of like Tom Sawyer, like you said from the original book, but focusing on more meatier parts of like story on Jim and Huck in the story.
Yeah.
And then I give them credit because again they built up the female characters, and they also and again they didn't really pass the wire test because we didn't get a chance to see Jim interact with another black person. And then when it comes to the Bechdel test, not been doing such a good job there either.
Yeah.
However, the only reason why I'm giving it woke is because again, it stuck to the original theme of the book, which was again that anti-racist thing that Mark Twain put out during that time period. And Stephen Summer did a good job of doing that. And then also keeping Jim's dignity with the performance that went on here, and never had him play a secondary character. Like, I like this film more than Green Book. Like, the thing about it is that Jim is more respectable character. Legit. Jim is more respectable character here than what they did in fucking Green Book. And it all makes sense about why these choices were made here.
Yeah.
So, again, that's the only reason I kind of give the pass with, again, not passing the wire test or the Bechdel test. It's because it takes place, like, in this Southern era where you're trying to get the story across. However, if you were to make this today, then they need to figure out a way to work around that. They need to figure out a way to work around that. But, again, during that time period, Stephen Summer's second movie, everything he tried to do with it, I'm like, dude, this is the shit. Like, your career could have ended after this.
Yeah.
But instead, it flourished, and you kept going on to put in more minorities.
Yeah.
It's fucking dope.
Yeah, I'll say, what? His film immediately after this one is another Disney adaptation. And the great thing about that movie is that he made an Asian man the lead of the film.
It was the Jungle
Book. And he cast Jason Scott Lee in the role of Mowgli. And you know what? Like,
who?
In the role, Jason Scott Lee, who played Bruce Lee.
Who?
Jason Scott Lee.
You mean Liu Kang?
No.
Wait, that's not the same actor?
That's No, that's Robin Shaw.
Wait, did he try out for that?
If he did, he didn't get it. But it's Jason Scott Lee who played Bruce Lee in Dragon the Pursuit Story. And so the fact that like he saw that Jason Scott Lee can lead a film and be heroic, be action packed, be romantic, etc. And he was all of that. And you know what? You're right. Like he's been at the very minimum good, at least trying to do that. throughout his film
career.
Yeah,
Throughout his entire career. Again, when you get to the first Mummy, the Mummy is dope, it's successful. But then when he goes to the second film, he doubles down on people of color.
yeah,
Again, put Adebisi in that role, put in that the homie of the Magi and everything like that. Like he keeps fucking doing the work. And that's honestly what you want to see is that like kind of like what you mentioned, like Mark Twain was like made this anti-slavery story and everything like that. And then he was an ally. And then you look at Stephen Summer continue to do the same thing, being an ally and not being scared to do these things. So again, it's like that's part of the reason why I make it woke, give it woke, because like the dude took risks. He put his career on the line and it breaked out, but again, it could have went south, but he went ahead and did that. And that's like kind of what I would say is like actions speak louder than words for me personally.
That's fair.
It's like you can always
Totally
say
fair.
I'm an ally, I'm doing this, but when you show up and you do the work and you do these things like this, that's what shows you're really fucking down.
No, you know what? I totally give you that. I'll totally give you that. All right, folks. I think that does about it. So don't forget to check us out in a couple weeks when we go ahead and review Turning Red, which will be available to watch on Disney Plus at the end of the week.
Wait,
Johnny. Oh no. What?
Justin, I gotta go there. There are stormtroopers with torches outside my window, and
that's a bad image. There's a bad image in regardless. You know, like, okay.
Justin,
I'm on my way. Johnny, I am on my way.
They got tar!
When you wish upon a star, when you wish upon a star.